Okay, I started to do a video last night about how I've grown up in Utah and I've lived in Utah most of my life. So I was doing a day in the life of a Utahn, and I was talking about the diversity that we have because we have the beautiful mountains with the lakes and they're gorgeous, and then you go down to southern Utah and it's the beautiful, gorgeous red rocks, Bryce Canyon, Zion's Canyon, and I was talking about how I've always wanted my whole life to get out of Utah because I don't like the cold. If you love to snow ski, then it's a great place to be. If you love to water ski, it's a great place to be in the summer, but the summer isn't near long enough for me anyway. So I've always wanted to live on the beach or near the ocean or somewhere tropical or somewhere warm, because I love the green earth. Hawaii, I would love to be if I knew it was a safe place. But and I was talking about how we lived in Orem, Utah when my children were babies. I had 3 of my babies here while we lived in Orem. And then we moved up to northern Utah in Cache Valley, 2 hours from here. And we raised our kids there. That's where they went to school and graduated. That's where they call home, except for 3 of them ended up back down here in Utah County. I ended up back down here with them. I live, if you get on the GPS, depending on the time of day, it's 12 minutes to UVU. And I was talking about how when my kids were little, I took a class at Utah Valley University. 2 of my kids went to Utah Valley University. I've been on the campus multiple times. I've driven past it hundreds of times. And now there's a temple there, and this temple that's beautiful, and so I like to drive by it to see the temple, and I go sit at the temple grounds because it's so beautiful, and I pass UVU every single time. And so I had expressed how I've always wanted to get out of Utah because I felt, even though it was my home and my family's here and I have a love for it, it's like I wanted more. I wanted more adventure when I was growing up. And I didn't feel like Utah had it to offer. And I never really appreciated it until the last 10 or 15 years. I will have to say Utah has upped its game tremendously. Like, I live right by Thanksgiving Point, 20 minutes away from Thanksgiving Point, where there's the largest dinosaur museum in the world. There's a huge curiosity museum for children that has everything that you can think of to explore. It's huge. Me and my daughter took my 2 granddaughters there and almost lost them several times because it's huge and it's amazing. There's a butterfly dome. There's the largest man-made waterfall, and it's gorgeous at Thanksgiving Point. If you go to Ashton Gardens, there's a tulip festival every year. It's the biggest tulip garden I've ever seen in my lifetime, and I've been around the world. I've visited butterfly domes and gardens in other states. There's a lot to offer, a lot. We have an amazing aquarium that I took my granddaughters to a couple months ago, and everything I need is right within 2 minutes of me. I live 12 minutes from Utah University. BYU, Brigham Young University, is 4 miles down the hill from Utah Valley. I literally live 5 minutes from the Provo Airport. I've loved taking flights out of I love going to that airport because I can't remember now the name of the airline. Allegiant used to have like $50 flights. They've gone up now, but seriously, $50 flights. I was able to go to Florida one year under, I was given money to do it, but I did it all under $500 with hotels and rent a car and a flight. And I went there to see my friend, and I went to the beach, and it lined up that I got to see my son because he's going to a university there. I won't say which one, but he was there for the same weekend I was there, getting an interview to see if he was a good candidate for the university. Anyway, that's another story about a shooting, but I'm not going to say anymore. But what I was going to say is, So I've appreciated Utah a lot more in my adult years and realized we have so much to offer. I've lived in New York. I feel like Utah, I'm sorry to say it if you are a New Yorker, I think Utah has so much more to offer than New York. New York is so much more beautiful than anything I saw in New York. I thought New York was kind of, yeah, it's thrilling to go there and see all the high rises, but what else is there to do but go to Central Park? It's like it's old and run down. There's so many awesome places here in Utah that is so nice. It's so clean, and it's very family oriented. New York's not. I lived in Louisiana and Mississippi, and they're very hospitable. I loved the people. They're very laid back, but they don't have that much to offer there either, except for a lot of humidity. Except for I was on the ocean um, during that part of my time while I was serving my mission, and I loved the ocean. I loved it. I was so blessed and grateful. I was in Waveland, Mississippi, which is it was in the Gulfport zone for the missionaries, and so we went to the Gulfport beach all the time. And so 8 years ago, I was able to take my kids back there to visit it because it's priceless to me. I was just given an answer. I just answered my own question that I've had the last few days. Oh my God, I was just given an answer. I was telling somebody, one of my friends, when I had a near-death experience, that the Lord took me back to that very ocean, and he told me something that was so important and so vital for my life, and I couldn't for the life of me remember what he told me. And so I told her, it's just yesterday, I was telling her I want to go back to Mississippi and sit on that beach because the Lord told me something really important and I can't remember it, and I need to go sit on the beach and remember. And when I just said the word priceless, it was related to something in my near-death experience. Anyway, that was a priceless time for me. Being with my children here in Utah now, who I now am having my third grandbaby in 2 days, or one of my daughters is having her third her third daughter, and I will have 6 grandbabies. That's what's kept me from not going to Florida. Even though my son's there, I would love to. I just didn't know how to make it work. But most of my grandbabies are here, and my daughters are here in Utah. And this is my home. And even though I'd love to travel the world and love to live somewhere tropical and be warm and be by the ocean and feel better, because doctors have told me for 30 years I'd feel better if I lived somewhere tropical. And I know, having traveled to Costa Rica and Florida multiple times, that I felt so much better. And then I could serve more and do more because the Lord gave me a purpose, and I feel like I can't do it because of my health. And I was talking to my friend about this yesterday, how sometimes I feel useless and sometimes I feel like I've let the Lord down because I haven't been able to do what he commissioned me to do and sent me back for. And yet Charlie Kirk, oh my gosh, that amazing man, did everything under the sun. And it's like, what am I doing? I think it was a wake-up call not only for me, but everyone around the world. Like, what are we doing with our lives? Why are we not standing up like Charlie? And so I've spoken out more the last week than I have in a long time, and I'm going to be a Charlie by dang because the Lord told me several years ago, and in my near-death experience, to hold my torch high so that others could find his light and love through my light. And I feel like I've felt it that. I feel like mostly because my body hasn't been up to par, but I guess doing this podcast is another way to share my light and my God's love for you through my testimony. But getting back to Utah, so here I am 12 minutes from Utah Valley University, feeling like I'm in the safest place in the world, Utah Valley, where Mormons live under this bubble, and we all live the commandments, and we all have 10 children, and we all get married in the temples so that we can be sealed together to our families forever. And we've been told by our prophets since I was a baby that family is the most important thing, not our earrings that we just lose, even though these are my favorite earrings. God family, and freedom. And I've been waking up to the fact that we've been losing our freedoms because a lot of us are oblivious to what's going on around us with the government controlling us and taking freedom away from us. When you have a near-death experience, I'm just going to say this, your veil becomes thinner. There's a veil between heaven and earth, and I believe we were born before we came to heaven, and we were in the what we call the premortal life. And we were told we would come to earth as a learning school so that we could learn to become more like Christ, just like Charlie, and be tested to see if we would live God's commandments and do what he asks of us, and to help our fellow men, and to be compassionate and not be judgmental, and do everything we can to be a warrior for Christ. And I've been told for the last 12 years, I had a huge vision that I was holding a torch and I was supposed to be a light, and then I was told I would receive a confirmation of that. And a few days later, somebody very precious to me wrote me a birthday card and drew a picture of a torch that was supposed to be a light for the world. And it's like, okay, that was my confirmation. And then one of the reasons why I had my near-death experience is because I've been very sick for a good 35 years, and there's a lot of reasons to that and things that compounded that. But so when you're close to the other side, when you're near death, that's why people start saying that they're seeing their loved ones. Because so going back to the premortal life, we were told we'd come to earth and there would be a veil of forgetfulness so that we wouldn't see God and heaven and the pre-mortal life, because we would have to rely on faith and trust in God. And so a lot of people, when they go on the other side and have an experience, they lose their veil, or their veil becomes very thin. So I saw right through COVID. I saw right through the Maui fires. I saw right through the California fires, just like Charlie spoke up about. He spoke up about all these things, that there's evil forces at work behind these things, including the flood that just happened in Texas, and including the flood that happened in North Carolina. And I see right through it all. I'm not saying I'm magic and I know everything, but I know truth from error. I know light from darkness. And I knew immediately COVID was orchestrated to harm us. I knew those fires were orchestrated to get the people out of there they didn't want there, because they could care less about those people, so that rich people could take over the land. And these 15-minute cities that Bill Gates has been talking about, this is real. These are the evil forces in our world. There is a cabal, and there is Gadian robbers in our day. So I'm getting off topic, but Erika Kirk. Nobody can hold a candle up to her, but I want to be an Erika. I want to be a Charlie Kirk, and I want to stand with and behind Erika Kirk and support her. And so I'm going to speak up more and more, because God told me to, and I held back and I hid my head. I've lived in shame because I haven't shared God's light and his message. I've spent many days in bed, mostly because I don't feel good, but there's things I can still do, even if I can't physically get out there and do everything that I want to do. But so after that, I've learned to appreciate nature. I've learned to appreciate diversity. I've learned to appreciate open-mindedness. I don't live in that box that I was taught to grow up to live in. I've been so much more open-minded to everybody and everything. I see more beauty in the earth, in every single flower. I look at every flower and I smell it, and I look at the intricate details and the beautiful colors, and I look at the sunsets, and I look at all the trees, and I lay on the grass and I look up through the trees and I look at all the leaves, and I'll take a leaf and just hold it to my heart. Or I just appreciate nature so much more, and I think that's why I appreciate Utah more. But more and more it's becoming more clear to me that family is the most important thing. God and family. I've had to move so many times, it's not even funny, and it's impacted my health even more and more, and coming down even more and more, because I lost my home, not because of my own doing, not because I wanted to, but I lost my home, but I have found that my home is in God. I am only at home if I am with God, and I know He's with me, and I know He's behind me. I know He was behind Charlie Kirk. I know that they're not telling us the whole story behind that. I went on Saturday. I wanted to go to Utah Valley University, but because of my health, I only have energy to do so much. I ended up going to Trader Joe's. I wanted to get to Jamba Juice, but my GPS took me in circles because I hadn't eaten well that day. But I so badly wanted to go sit at a park and go to UVU and then go to the park and just sit there and contemplate. So I got turned around, but I ended up at Trader Joe's, which I've been wanting to go to anyway. Oh my heck. I have never seen such madness in that store before. Literally, there were probably 10 lines, and they all probably had at least 25, 30 people in every single line. It looked like the day after Thanksgiving sale. It was madness. And when it was finally my turn to purchase my 5 things that I went in there for, that I thought I'd be in there for 2 minutes for, and I literally stood in line over 30 minutes, which is hard for me to do, and it took a lot of energy. And I asked the cashier, I'm like, what in the heck is going on? I've never seen your place this crazy. And she says, well, there is a BYU game tonight, so I think people are just getting snacks for the game. And that made a little sense, but it's like all these people are going to the BYU game. It was madness. So by the time I got out of there, found Jamba Juice, I was going to eat my Jamba Juice and go to the park. I didn't have the strength to go to Utah Valley, but I drove past it. I don't know if I really wanted to go there, but I mean, that's how close it is to me. It's my hometown. So I went to a park. Oh, what's the name of the park? My daughter told me. It's literally not even 2 miles. It's probably 1 mile, not even that far. It's probably like 3/4 of a mile from UVU south. So right across from UVU, Utah Valley University, is a Walmart, and then just a couple of blocks beyond that is this. I wish I could remember the name of it. But the reason why I knew about this park is because when my oldest daughter, came back to Provo, she invited me to go with me and her 2-year-old, because there's a huge, beautiful pond there with ducks and a beautiful big waterfall. And I wanted to go there and sit there and eat my Jamba Juice and contemplate and meditate. Like, God, what do I need to do to be better? And when I got there, I didn't realize, so my GPS took me the roundabout. It took me to the far end, and there was a parking lot there, but so I had to walk a long ways to get to the waterfall, and halfway through it was like, I can't walk that far, because it was a long walk. And then when I got to it's like, no, I came here to do this. It started to get windy and a little bit rainy, and I was freezing, but I was like, no, I'm determined. I came to sit by this waterfall. So I went and stood by it, and then I realized the main parking lot was right there, right by it. And it's like, oh my God, I just sacrificed my feet and my energy. But now I'll know next time. So I did sit at the waterfall for a minute and contemplated, and it was gorgeous. It was gorgeous. And so I do appreciate Utah a lot more than I did. But I thought it was such a safe place. And now the safest place in the world is a target for the whole world, because the whole world's eyes are on Orem, Utah. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It could be good in some ways and bad in a whole lot of other ways. And it's like, well, that safety just went out the door. But me, like everybody else in the world, saw so much grace. If you watched Erika Kirk's message yesterday, it's like, I've had a lot of abuse and I've had a lot of horrible things happen to me. And I always thought I need to be a victim's advocate and help stand up for those women and children who are abused. And I know men get abused too, but I'm a woman, so that's who I can relate to. And it's like, by darn, I will protect any woman or child that needs my help and comes to me for help. And that's part of what God sent me back for, because he knows that I went through it, so he knows that other women will be able to relate to me, and they can trust me. So, okay, I feel like I keep getting taken off course because I keep thinking about Erika. So I've been thinking, okay, I gotta stand up, I gotta speak in my power, speak my voice, stand in my power, be strong. I do not condone sin, but my goodness, Erika was a great example to me that I have to forgive. I will have to forgive. I will be required to be a witness. I can't be a judge. Only God can be a judge. But I will have to be a witness to the things that happen to me. I will help other people who have the same things happen. I can't be a judge, and I have to forgive in the end. That was a wake-up call for me. But I still will never condone sin, because God does not condone sin. Christ didn't condone sin. Even though he was compassionate with the sinner, he told them, go and don't sin no more. I don't even know where I'm going, because I wanted to talk about the day in the life of a lifelong Utahn, and how I for so many years wanted to get out of here, because it's cold 9 months out of the year and I want to be somewhere warm. But now I appreciate everything it has to offer. It was voted the #1 state to live in last year. It has so much to offer, and it's beautiful, and it's clean, and there are really, really good people here. I think the bad is infiltrating here, just like it does everywhere. I think there are places that are more safe than other places. I think this used to be a safe place. I don't think it's going to be so much anymore unless we all stand up and wake up and realize we're losing our freedoms, and we need to speak up. And we need to wake up and see what's going on in the world and see why we're losing our freedoms. And it's all about power, money, and control with those people who don't give a dang about us because they think we're stinking, stupid slobs. But we have brains, and we have intuition, and we can all develop it, and we can all develop the gift of discernment if we truly want to, and say, hey, yeah, my freedom was taken away unjustly, and I need to start speaking up. And yeah, we need to start electing people who are going to really, truly stand up for our freedom. And that's what Charlie did. And that's what I appreciated about him. He put God first, his family, then freedom, and his country. He loved his country more than anyone. I didn't know anything about him until the shooting, the day of the shooting. One other thing. So I told you I live 5 minutes from the airport. There's still this unexplained personal plane that was at the airport before the shooting and left the airport after the shooting. And the day that I heard the day Charlie was shot, I had just briefly saw it on the news, and I was like, oh my gosh. And then my daughter called me and said, Mom, I'm not feeling good. Can you go pick up my little granddaughter from school? And so I did. And when I got to the parking lot, she came running out. Mom, hurry, come inside, get inside, hurry. And she took her little girl inside because she didn't want her to freak out. And so she came back to me and whispered to me, there's a shooter in the area. Well, somebody in our neighborhood said that the cops, because she knew a cop, and they were using him because he has a cop dog. What are they called? I'm sorry. Forgive me, I'm not thinking of the right words, the kind of dogs that cops use. So they called on him because they were following a vehicle that came to our area because the vehicle matched. But here we are, literally 5 minutes down the street, literally, from the Provo airport. That could have been somebody. I think there's more than one person involved. That could have very well been somebody. Do you think I felt safe that day? Do you think I feel safe? As safe? The only thing we can do is trust God and not fear. And if I die speaking up, I don't care. I've died before. It's so much better on the other side. But by golly, before I die, I'm going to stand up for the truth. I stand behind Charlie. I am Charlie. I'm going to hold my torch high. I'm going to stand behind Erika. I love that woman. Thank goodness for that woman and her grace and her example and her strength that has made all of us want to do better and be better and get up to par with what we know we're supposed to be doing with our lives and our missions here. So that's the day in the life of a Utahn, a lifelong Utahn, who is now in the spotlight of the whole world, right next to Utah Valley University, right next to Provo Airport, right in between. And I still want to go. I want to go to the university one day when it's quiet, when people aren't there, and I want to honor Charlie. I've been there multiple times. My daughter used to work on campus, and I would go say hi to her, but I just want to sit there and have a moment of silence for him, to pay tribute to him. So I don't know anymore about Utah. We're in the spotlight. We better hold our torches high. We better shine our light bright, because the world is watching us. Thanks for letting me share.